Hey, survivors, welcome. We got another brand new episode of Geeks from the Multiverse. That's right. We're doing part 3 of our 4-part Walking Dead series, and we're going to be talking about the Walking Dead expanding universe. That's right. We're going to be talking about spin-offs and more spin-offs and more spin-offs. That's right. And spin-offs after that. We're going to be talking about all the spin-offs, whether they were great, whether they were sucky. We're going to be diving in and reviewing all of them. So stay tuned and let's get geeky. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Grumpy Beard. With me, as always,
is Capitalist Dash, baby, a.k.a. John, as we all know. Anyways, boys and girls, and again, whoever you want to be called. Again, what Matt was saying, all the damn spinoffs, because, God forbid that The Walking Dead doesn't have too many. We're just going to keep creating more and more and more and wait, more, right? Because I feel like, The Walking Dead is, it's great as a whole at the beginning, but then now we're going to throw in other shit to, fill in the stories,
Yeah. I love The Walking Dead, but I do seriously hope that The Walking Dead just does not do anymore.
I think, you and I agree, I think from last time, The Walking Dead in the beginning was great, up until a certain point. And I think, once you started creating the universe, there's only so much I feel like you can do. Like it's great to kind of expand on certain characters, like Daryl and Carol, that kind of a thing, and then Michonne and Rick, kind of doing all that different stuff, and you might have guest appearances from like Negan or whatever, like you throw those people in or whatever, but it just gets to a point, and then Fear the Walking Dead have a completely new cast of people and focusing on one family and stuff. There's only so much I feel like you can do without having to, go over.
Well, and I think what the problem is, Fear the Walking Dead started great. They went in a whole different direction. You had a whole different storyline. You had a whole different thing. But then they really started going into, and we'll get into what the CRM is, but they really just started getting into this whole CRM and it's like every spinoff after that was like every time you see a helicopter, you go, oh, are they going to show where Rick is? And that's exactly like what every spinoff was. Like you see a helicopter and it was like, oh, are they going to show where Rick is? And that they had a whole show about the CRM and it was like, are they going to hint where Rick is? And you watch the whole show and you're like, well, what was the fucking point of this show?
I mean, this one.
We just want to know where Rick is.
Well, right, but then you do find where Rick is because there's now a new show based on where Rick is.
Yeah, and then you couldn't watch it up until like Monday when they put it on Netflix.
Oh, did they finally put it on Netflix? I didn't realize that's what they did. Okay, well, that's good. I mean, if now you want to watch basically every show, right? Yeah,
not everyone, because some of them you still can't watch. But
is it the like Daryl and them?
Daryl Dixon, Fear the Walking Dead. And The Ones Who Live, I believe, are the ones that are on Netflix and the main show.
Okay. But you still can't watch the one with Rick and Michonne.
No, Rick and Michonne, that's The Ones Who Live. That's on.
Oh, that's
the one that.
Gotcha.
The World Beyond.
That's the one I was thinking of. Yes.
And Tales from the Walking Dead are not ones that you can watch as far as right now. And Dead City, those 3 you can't watch on Netflix yet.
I never even heard of Dead City. I don't remember.
Dead City is the Negan.
Spinoff.
Maggie one.
Oh, yeah. See, there you go. How many damn spinoffs do you want to have of everybody?
Oh, there's too much, but it's really like AMC. You really create this like cultural phenomenon that is like The Walking Dead, and it's like, okay, well, how do we build on the main show? Because the main show, up until about season 7, season 8, it was really successful. Like the show is, up until when people started, Andrew Lincoln left and then Carl died and then Michonne left in season 10. Maggie was not there the whole season 9 because she was doing a whole different show. And then she came back in season 10, which by that time, Michonne was gone. So, you have people who left, you have people who come back, but by that time, like, the show was already,
then there's only so much you can do story-wise.
People left. So, you're trying to build this interconnected universe by creating, multiple spin-offs, but, you create Fear the Walking Dead. And then, like, I think before Fear the Walking Dead even ended, you had another spinoff that you did. And then while that spinoff is kind of going, then you're planning this anthology series, which is different, interconnected stories. They're not like, it's not a whole, show like Fear the Walking Dead or the main show. They're different stories.
Is it kind of like the what was it?
It's an anthology. So
no, I was thinking more like the Matrix. How like you were saying, there's like those little short films in a sense.
Right, yeah.
Similar to that, right?
Each episode is kind of like a different story. Which one of them is like Alpha, Alpha's origin story. So you get to see like her origin story, but like
it just kind of fills in some blanks, but not the whole picture.
You have all of these shows happening at the same time, and you're like, well, what do I watch first? Like, all of these things are happening, and it's like, like overload.
Well, and I feel like I said, when you even mentioned it earlier, when you have a cultural phenomenon for a show and you say, hey, what can we do from here? And you've done so well with this. And then you're like, hey, we're going to put all these, damn spinoffs and like keep switching it around, doing whatever. Like, it's great and all to a point, but here's the issue is that you get to a point where, you're doing one thing and then now you're doing 20 other things on top of this one thing that you were supposed to be just really focusing on.
Yeah, I think it just was too much too fast. I think like you drop like one show like a year, if that. Like, I mean, if you imagine like Disney or Marvel in general, like if they literally dumped
like 5 or 10 shows in a freaking year,
like Hawkeye and all of those shows, like they dumped them like every 3 or 4 months, like they dropped another show. Nobody would watch the shit, and everybody would be more frustrated than they already are because it would be like there's just too much. There's too much content and we can't keep up. Like, we can't just like watch all of this stuff. And like none of it like became new because the world beyond was focused on the CRM.
Right.
Fear the Walking Dead ended pretty much with the CRM. Right? Like the ones who live is about the CRM. So, so you have all these shows about the CRM, like we're done with the like show something out. Like, there must be other parts of the world that are not the CRM and that are not Rick or Michonne or anybody else. Like, are there anybody else other than these fucking people that you can do a show about? Like, nobody else is in this world that you can possibly maybe do a show on that you can create. Maybe. I don't know. But I mean, AMC did create the spinoffs to, expand their lore, explore, other corners of the apocalypse to keep, audiences engaged. There are different tones for each of the shows, different themes, that were much different than the main series. So I guess like the question would be, were the spinoffs seen as genuine expansions or were they viewed more as cash grabs?
Actually, before I answer this, the funny thing is, Matt, I was thinking about it. The first thing you didn't actually do for the first time in a while? What's the one thing you normally do right in the beginning of an episode? Do you remember?
Well, normally I do the fist bump thing, but
there you go. That's why I was wondering. And then all of a sudden I'm like, well, we didn't even do that. That's funny. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
I don't think we did it last episode either, but
oh well. Okay, sorry guys, but
I mean, I will say, YouTube seems to be like now our main go-to since TikTok is now dead.
Actually, hold on before we go on any further. Fun fact. So if you don't already know this, yes, with TikTok, yes, I know with the whole the government saying, okay, it's officially shut down for the time being, whatever. So fun fact. This morning I was like, I'm just going to see if I can get on. Okay. So it did say like, sorry, we can't, allow you to get on because of, Trump and so forth and the government, blah, 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 does its thing. And we're like, okay. So literally this afternoon, okay, my wife says, "Hey, look at something. I just sent you something on TikTok." I'm like, "Excuse me, how the hell did you get back on TikTok?" She's like, "Look, grab your phone." I grabbed my phone, and all of a sudden, I'm watching stuff on TikTok again, and I'm sitting there like, so did they officially ban it, or did they basically just say, "Hey, up until I think tomorrow is when he's getting inaugurated"? You know, is he going to be like? Is that going to be technically? They're going to end, TikTok until they can come up with a solution, for TikTok, because from my understanding is that's what they're planning on. They're trying to communicate and actually work on a resolution so that TikTok eventually can still be an actual social media app and still be a thing in the United States. We'll see.
As far as I know, the American servers were shutting down as of today. Well, so as far as I know, unless you like change you have a VPN that changes your actual physical location.
But I didn't do that. That was the thing. So that's what I'm saying is that, so for right now, yes, it's saying that, you're still on. Wouldn't be surprised by tomorrow, Monday, basically. We'll see. We'll see if this actually is the thing. Now, granted, when this drops, we'll see. We'll see if it actually is going to do anything or not. We'll see.
I don't know.
Anyways,
maybe it'll rise like a walker.
I mean, maybe it'll rise like water. No, but like I was going to say real quick is that yes, with our Spotify, the YouTube, everything else that we've been doing, we do appreciate you guys, at least trying to listen. I know we haven't had too many listeners from the last so many times that I've been kind of looking at the analytics wise, but again, anything helps. Keep spreading the word. Keep doing your guys' jobs, and help us out. But anyways, back to your question. Yes, I think AMC. A lot of this, what they did is, yes, I think it's a lot of like cash grab. I think it's more like because The Walking Dead became this big phenomenon. They're like, hey, why don't we create more shit and see if we can get more money out of it? I don't think maybe they kind of worked with Kirkman a little bit, but I don't think they really kind of. I think they just kind of did their own thing and was like, hey, we're just going to make some shit and we'll see if Kirkman likes this or not. And then hopefully we'll make some money to, overside that a little bit. But we'll see.
I mean, I don't know. I do think the Walking Dead creators viewed them as genuine, expansions to the original story. But I do think AMC were much different on that. Like, I do think AMC generally saw like The Walking Dead as like a commodity that they want that they could exploit as a cash grab, because it doesn't help that like before they brought it to Netflix, like before The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead and Daryl Dixon and now the newer show The Ones Who Live were available on Netflix. You couldn't watch any of The Walking Dead unless you were had cable or subscribed to AMC Plus. Like you couldn't watch anything Walking Dead because.
So, and we've even talked about this before. Technically, AMC was never the realm of The Walking Dead was never even a thing. AMC was never known for that. Originally, AMC, if we remember correctly, if I can remember correctly, they were known for like the old time kind of like television, kind of the oldies in a sense, bringing that stuff into the limelight again. They weren't known for this.
Well, they're American movie classics.
No, that's what I know
it stands for. Yeah.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that's what they were known for.
Now they're not. I mean,
not anymore.
Now they're not known for that. They're known for like Walking Dead and
a few other things.
Breaking Bad and.
No, but I'm just saying
these other shows.
But before it's all about like bringing back the classics of the movies and whatnot, and even TV shows. But no, I just think it's funny that now, yes, because they have that commodity of like, oh, yes, we have Breaking Bad. Hey, yes, we have The Walking Dead. Hey, we got this and that. Oh, that's great. And like, all the spinoffs from all the different shows that they've done. It's tough when you start to look at a show like this, like we've been talking about, and they're just like, hey, what can we do with this amount of money and make it a show like, hopefully that's people that find it interesting. But then, do they, does it actually make sense? Does it actually fit with everything going on?
Yeah,
like
I mean, I thought Fear the Walking Dead was really, really good. Up until about 6, because it had 8 seasons, and I thought it was really, really good. And then all of a sudden, they got like a new writer or a new, the show like immediately switched gears And instead of it just being like how people survive, how people survived, it became like the focus became, building a community and power struggles and prolonged survival, as opposed to like how their immediate survival was. And it just, the whole thing just changed, and it was like, the whole thing, it just got so ridiculous, like, them, a nuclear missile going off and them walking around with just like cloth things over their faces like that. You're walking around and it's like, you guys are not protected from radiation, walking around with freaking clothing over your heads. Come on. Like, we're not buying it.
No, it just, again, it doesn't make any sense. And I think, looking at,
and then they're like, oh, we're getting sick. It must be radiation poisoning. Well, no shit.
No, I mean, no, but I'm just saying, like, you're right. I mean, what I'm saying is, though, is like, you look at the difference between the main show and even this show. I understand that this is kind of the Fear of the Walking Dead, and especially in the beginning. Yes, it was supposed to be the events of what happened even before Rick. Like, this is when Rick was in a coma, in a sense. This is kind of like how that started. Now, granted, this is in California, right? If I wasn't mistaken, the Fear of the Walking Dead versus like, where they're at, like basically Georgia. But like,
yes,
I'm just saying, like,
Los Angeles,
right? So like, that's why I'm saying, and especially when
and this is like way before, because this is like you get to see like the early days of when it actually like hit Los Angeles,
right? And that's
as opposed to like when you're seeing it, you're seeing Rick wake up and it's already happened,
right? That's what I'm saying. Like, where like in the beginning, or at least the first episode, where that kid's like, oh, I got to go home and I got to start I gotta get a gun or whatever. And he's like, trying to like explain this. And he's like, what are you talking about? And then they finally get to see what he's talking about.
Yeah. And like the kid in the beginning of Fear the Walking Dead, like brings a knife to school or something.
That's what it was. Yeah. It was a knife.
Yeah. And the teacher, who's Madison, is like, why'd you bring a knife to school? Like, you don't need it. And the kid's like, no, like they're saying like, yeah. But like that's where the show was like really different, because, it wasn't about just like long-term survival and like building a community and trying to like, people against people. It was really just focusing on like this blended family and how they're like, surviving and being, trusting each other, and, moral compromises between like, this husband and the wife who were really fighting and they weren't getting along, and having to really, trust each other and get along. And like their son, Nick, was, an addict. Right. Like literally like found him like overdose.
Yeah.
Like
it was at the church, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Like overdosing. And the daughter was like wanting to do her own shit. Like, no, leave me alone. I want to go do my own thing. And they're like, no, there's fucking zombies out there. Like,
how about shut up and follow along? You're like,
But that was like the real time. Like they were, civilization like was literally like unraveling around them, like in real time, and you get to see it, and then all of a sudden, like it just swapped. It literally just like the focus shifted. Like they went to like this like stadium, like developed a community, and like that's what it became. And like they all of a sudden like shifted all personality, like building a community. Like it became what The Walking Dead was. Morgan's in there now. Like Morgan like switched shows to be on Fear the Walking Dead,
which I thought was weird. But I mean, at the time,
it was cool. Like that he was able to get on, on that show, and he was really like trying to be like the peaceful kind of Morgan. Right. He was still kind of a badass, but he was still like reserved and,
kept to himself. I know.
Tried to keep to himself, but like, yeah, after 6, it really, really changed. But it did capture like that raw fear and confusion of like how the show, like how it's like the actual apocalypse started, which you didn't get to see in Walking Dead.
Right, because you just go right into it. You don't even know what the hell's going on at first. But
you do see it from Rick, like when he wakes up and he's like, "What the hell's happening?" And you see that look on his face when he first exits the hospital.
and he's literally riding a horse.
Well,
I know.
You get to see like literally all the dead bodies like that are lined up outside the hospital, and he's like,
the hell did I miss?
What the hell? And like he sees that first walker, but this is like people are changing like around them for the very first time.
Right. Yeah.
They don't look like the zombies that are in Walking Dead because they're not like gross yet. They're like,
they're not at that point. Yeah. They're just regular people.
They're just regular people like with blood and stuff. Like they're not like
when they had
decaying and like falling apart.
It was like right at the end of the first episode when they had to kill their, or like the end of the first episode, right beginning of the second one where it was like his best friend. I think it was like Nick's best friend or whatever. Like you didn't see all of a sudden, then you saw him just like, coming after them.
I think that was the dealer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. It was the dealer.
That was the dealer when he changed. Yeah.
Right. But you see that in the moment and you're like, oh shit. He like comes out of nowhere and like he runs him over. And he's like, oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
like it's then, but it's not even close. But no. And that's the thing about, like you were saying about The Walking Dead versus now, in here, it's nice to see that perspective and that transition because now you're understanding, the entire picture now, or at least have a general understanding of really what's going on now. Because you're right. Because when you're just reading or not reading, let me rephrase that. I mean, I guess sure if you want to read the comic book too, I mean it's the same thing.
Well,
you don't
have
really
to read
know
it, but yeah,
no. But I mean, you're doing the same thing. You're just okay. Here you go. Let's just get right into it because that's all it is. Like you don't get the behind the scene look of like, oh, well, this is exactly what happened to get to this point.
Right.
Roughly.
Yeah. And, you do get to see like different characters. I mean, in the show, like, Victor Strand and Madison Clark, John Dory, which is, some of these, like unique and memorable characters, they're not explored like in the main show. So you get to see like new characters that were not introduced and they're in a different part of the world. So that was, that was really, really cool. And to have, Morgan also be introduced in that show, I think like, you see someone like Morgan who's, he's like we said, in the last one of the last episodes, he's OG Walking Dead. He's in the first episode.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely.
He's OG Walking Dead. So like when you see Morgan and he's on this show, like it brings like that sense of like, oh, this is Morgan. Like,
we haven't seen him in a while, kind of a deal.
Haven't seen him in a while. Like it brings like that sense of like, okay, like this is someone we know. And now he's interacting with these people and it brings like, it bridges like those two series together. And like, like if he made it from there to here.
I mean, clearly he's been traveling. So,
you know that they exist in the same
universe in the same time frame.
In the same time frame, the same universe. So like when he bridges that, like, like, now we're on the same wavelength. Like what's happening on this show is happening at the same time.
Right. And I mean, it's nice to see that, but I also know that it's very hard when, like as we both know, like the more shows you bring into this and like you're trying to figure out a timeline. Like I said, you know what I mean? Like I always bring up, we always joke about this, but like the X-Men. Like, right, like trying to figure out the damn timeline of like when certain things happened at certain moments. The more shit you bring into the plate, and like we were saying before, like the more shows you want to bring in all at once. Yeah, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on in that moment and trying to figure out like places, that's where it can get confusing. Now, granted, these two shows were at least like coinciding a little bit, but not enough to like, get really confusing at some points, But if you had 5 shows or something like that all at once, that might have been more confusing at that time.
Yeah, I mean the show's timeline eventually, caught up at when Morgan showed up. But yeah, I mean Fear the Walking Dead like never really like stated like, oh yeah, it's at the same time. But like I think once Morgan showed up on the show, like I think the suggestion was it was they were happening side by side because there was a time when he was telling that group, like, I like come back with me, back to the group. Like we will accept all of you guys, come. And they were all like, no, but that was kind of like his thing. Like he wanted to, at some point he wanted to go back and just never did. Obviously, because he was on this show and not on the other one. But
Right.
but yeah, some of the weaknesses, I guess, from this show is the storytelling was really inconsistent. Between the character arcs, like there were just frequent shift in tone, the direction of the show, like the plot lines were often just recycled.
Hey.
It just was like, the narrative would change direction. Some of the legacy characters that, like Morgan and, after a while, like Madison, they were just underused, and just creative decisions like just weakened the show once it got to a certain point.
Here's the thing, man, is that, you get to a point where we get lazy, right? That what you just described was just pure laziness when it came to a show. You know what I mean? Like the fact that you had to recycle plot lines, you had inconsistency when it came to like, storytelling between characters and trying to like figure out all the shit in between. That's just pure laziness, especially when you feel like, when you have a show like this and you want to expand and you want to do all this, you need to start creating, like not thinking, okay, well, we have this idea, we're going to use it for a bit, and then we're just going to keep doing that. Long.
That sounds more like, hey, what do we want to do with this, with this season? Nuclear bomb.
Fuck it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's, we don't have really anything else, so let's go for it.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not?
And
like, what?
You guys could have come up with something better than a nuclear fucking bomb. But, but that's the thing. Like, the characters were written off abruptly. Their arcs were incomplete. Like, you have Madison's character. She was written off. And then they were like, well, let's bring her back. Excuse me?
So why would you get rid of her in the first place?
So you just write her back in. And then, it's like, oh, so her arc was like not finished. So you bring her back. And then her arc is still not finished. And then they bring in the CRM, which is, if you don't know what the CRM is, it's the Civic Republic military. And so they bring in like that storyline. And, while, yeah, I guess it's intriguing if you, if you really want to go down that road, it is, it is intriguing, I guess. But in Fear the Walking Dead, you really don't know much about the CRM because they never bring it into a larger narrative. It's like, shh, don't talk. We don't talk about the CRM. You know what I mean? Like
shh, we don't do that shit.
We don't talk about the we don't talk about the CRM here.
Hey, shut up! Don't talk about them, or you're gonna get shot by me personally. You're like, wait, whoa, wait. Hey, now what? I can't mention the word.
This is one of those things. Like you see a helicopter and you're like, oh, are we gonna get info on Rick? And then it's like crickets. I wish I had a cricket sound, but I don't, folks. I'm sorry, I don't have a cricket sound. But this is where we would have that cricket sound because no info on Rick. We just know that like the CRM is involved in something, and that they're obviously some kind of a military force. But they're never integrated into a larger narrative on the show. We just know that there's something. And then, we just have like really heavy villain-centered arcs on the show, like the Pioneers, and then Victor Strand goes into like his descent into tyranny, and then pretty much like it just falls really short on really just delivering like their full potential. And then, the series finale of the show really aimed to provide closure, and you really just, the show ends and you're like, I know, for me, when I watched that finale, I was like, that's it. This is what the show ends with?
See, the problem is, granted, I need to watch it. And I know, you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to run a tally of shit I need to watch. And it's going to be a long ass list, Matt. And I understand.
I'm telling you,
I haven't.
You will enjoy it up until about season 6, up until maybe 7. And then after 7, you're really going to get to like, you're going to struggle bust it through 7. You're going to even get worse through season 8. And then halfway through season 8, you're going to go, why am I still watching this shit?
You're just like, I want to be done with this shit.
And then you're going to get to the finale and the finale is going to be over and you're going to go,
the fuck?
Did I just waste like a month of my life watching this show?
For no reason?
For no freaking reason whatsoever?
I mean, and that's like the issue where, and I only mentioned like, I'm going to say this, like Game of Thrones and like other shows like that, where, you know, when they basically did the spinoff of the House of Dragon, right? You know, so like that's great and all, you know, but like there's certain things that you just, I mean, granted, I know it's still continuing and whatnot, but I swear to God, if they like throw in like right at the end, like you're about to see a big fight scene and then they're like, stop. And you're like, son of a bitch, you know, like you don't want to see that ultimately ending because now you have questions. So basically, like you were just saying, like you have all this shit's going on and you're like, oh, okay. And then you're like, so do we not have any other closure, or is this like this is what we got?
Yeah.
Like that's it. Oh, thanks, appreciate it. Thank you for.
Like I said, I think I think as very early on, it should have ended maybe like after 6. It should not have gone 8 seasons, but it did go 8 seasons, and it did have moments of brilliance. I think it delivered some really emotional character arcs. Like it had some really really good thing, but there were just some really bad execution.
Well, I think it's all about it. It's all about the executing it appropriately, or at least making sense.
It did. It had some really bad execution, and the show just didn't live up to, I think, its full potential. But I mean, I think it did add a lot to the Walking Dead universe. It just sucks that like the last few seasons just didn't really provide like a whole lot, because I think the show could have ended a whole lot better.
I mean, we've even talked about it with the main story of The Walking Dead. That show could have ended earlier, I should say.
But I think as a show, I think this show is one of the better spinoffs.
True, because
compared to what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, well, this one I'm not even looking forward to, because I already know I'm looking at it and I'm like,
I didn't finish this one because I think this one should never have been done. But this is just, to be honest, like.
So this is, okay. So this one has nothing to do with anything besides just the CRM.
So this is a 2-season series, and this was designed to explore the Civic Republic military. The Civic Republic military is one of the most powerful post-apocalyptic groups within the Walking Dead universe.
I was going to say, yeah. Makes sense.
You do see them in the regular Walking Dead, but you really just see the helicopters. You don't really see like the military
or like the people,
like the people that are in the military. Like you see the helicopters, like in The Walking Dead, when they show Atlanta being bombed, they were the one that did that.
Makes sense.
And a few other times, like when they're on the rooftops and you see the helicopter. Yep. That was them. In Fear the Walking Dead, they were in that show. But a few times when you see the helicopters, that's the CRM, that's the Civic Republic military, because they are the ones that have the helicopters. But it does focus on like a younger generation that were raised in the apocalypse, and it kind of contracts with the experiences of older survivors, which are the ones that were,
let me guess, Walking Dead,
like that were born, before they were the ones that experienced, like they were lived before that.
Well, yeah, they've already lived what life was like before the post. Yeah, I can't even speak, man. You know what I meant? The whole apocalypse.
So,
anyways.
the key themes of the show are hope versus survival, how youth and inexperience shape decision-making in extreme circumstances. Like we said before, the show really is like apparently any time in The Walking Dead, there's a helicopter. You just have to ask the question, like, is Rick near? That's really like that. That's near. That's really like the question. It becomes just a useless show. Like, there's really no point to watch it. I started watching it and it was unwatchable to me.
Wow. Hold on. Let me ask you this. Would you rather watch this or The Acolyte? That's the question.
I will tell you this.
Go ahead.
I would rather play Call of Duty and die 100 times. I would rather play Elden Ring and die 1,000,000 times
than watch
this show.
Wow, that's pretty strong, man. Especially the Call of Duty thing, because I'm surprised, buddy, because that was like one thing I was like, damn, you really want to do that?
The show is awful. It's just not a good show. I mean, I guess if you really want to add to the lore of the Civic Republic military, it does that. That's the strength that I can give it. Like, you really want to know what the Civic Republic military is like, that's what the show adds to it. But that's kind of what I can give the show. Like, that there's really not much to it. You know, if you really want to watch it, I think you either have to subscribe to cable or, you know, YouTube TV or Fubo or whatever those are, you know, those subscription kind of TV, you know, subscriptions are, or AMC Plus, because you can't watch it anywhere else.
And the question is do you sure you want to do that? Depending on which way this goes.
I mean, if you really want to dive into the Walking Dead, you know, expanded universe, like, it's not, I don't think it's necessary to watch it, but if you want that background, go for it.
You know what? Here, this is my suggestion. If you like The Walking Dead, if you like all the way through, whatever, you do all that, and you really want to spend some time on watching some of the stuff, like Matt's saying, be our guest. If that's what you want to do, you want to spend some money that you probably don't have, and you just want to do it anyways, go for it. You know what? Just spend your money. It's okay. Go on AMC, and you're like, yeah, we're just going to do it up until we're done with this stuff. And then you cancel the subscription, because at that point, there's no reason to do that unless you want to watch Breaking Bad, which is already on Netflix. So it doesn't matter. Anyways, yes, moving forward. Where do we go? Oh, the Tales of the Walking Dead. Yes.
Yeah. So these are, like I said, this is like the kind of their experimental anthology format. This is like Tales of the Walking Dead. I guess sort of like the video games, because those are kind of like the Tales of the Walking Dead, right? They're like the kind of video games. So
is it similar like artwork too?
No, it's an actual like live action.
Oh, okay.
But it's focused on different survivors, timelines, different corners of the apocalypse, like, you know, like all these other, you know, spin-offs. But it's experimental nature of the show, like comedy, tragedy, the surrealism. You know, the episodes focus on, you know, the first one's Evie and Joe, which is kind of like more of a kind of a romantic, I guess, story of, you know,
connection and hope.
Yeah, connection and hope.
But it has nothing to do with the actual timeline of things. This one does.
No, I mean, it's like, you know, just a couple people who like meet, and then they kind of like fall in love, and they, you know, actually, you know, Joe is played by Terry Crews. If that
oh, interesting. I had no idea, but
and Evie is Olivia Munn. If you know,
yeah, I know, but wait, hold on. That's weird. That's a weird mix to bring those two in together, but okay. And then so the whole Alpha thing. I mean, that's, you know, the origin story, you know, for D. You know, but like, I mean, like you were saying before about even with The Walking Dead, like, I guess, sure, you could do that if that's what you want to do, you know, like just kind of throw that in there, like as sure, this is what happened. Like, this is how, you know, Alpha became to be. But, you know, other than that, I mean, I'm assuming Blair and Gina, that doesn't seem like an interesting, you know, kind of like episode in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen. I think I watched I've seen the Evie and Joe, and I think I watched the D, but I didn't see the Blair and
Gina
one. I can look it up though.
Yeah, I think you should, because I'd be curious. But yeah, no, I mean, so the way this show, I feel like, basically kind of works in a sense is like, you know, it kind of reminds me of like the What If stuff. You know, like, you know.
So this is a fast-paced, reality-twisting buddy action heist. A disgruntled receptionist and her overbearing boss are trapped together in the city of Atlanta.
What, during the bomb?
As the city of Atlanta collapses under the Walker apocalypse, forcing them to work together in order to escape the city. That's what the episode's about.
Okay. So very specific, but I mean, I think it's nice to, like, it's kind of like I said, I know the What If is a totally different, you know, genre.
Oh, yeah, this one is Parker Posey as Blair and Jillian Bell as Gina.
Okay. So what I was just trying to say is that with the anthology one, it's like, it kind of reminds me of the What If stuff, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you're maybe doing like certain things to kind of fill in the blanks if there's like maybe some underlying questions, but like I don't feel like they've explored this one enough. You know what I mean? Like, because they could do a little bit more in like different, like if they'd said, hey, we're gonna do some on the Fear of the Walking Dead, or like some of the like the differences or whatever.
Right.
Other than that, I mean,
I really think like if they wanted to do like this type of like anthology series, like I think the most successful one of these probably was Alpha, because we know who Alpha is. She was in the main show. If you really wanted to do this really successfully, don't focus on like whoever fucking Blair and Gina or Evie and Jill. Like,
no,
nobody gives a shit about them.
No,
do like the governor.
Right.
Like who he was before. Right. Like we don't know shit about we get kind of like a piece of his story.
No, but that's what I mean. Like the backstories of the main people. Like and
do like what some of these people that we think that we know. Like do an origin story on some of these guys. Like we don't know some of these guys.
I don't give a fuck who Evie and Joe is and Blair and Joe.
No.
I don't care, because that's a random ass story to randomly throw into the thing. It's like, that's cool. Hey, you know what? Let's throw in Evie and Joe about this love romantic interest. It's like, I don't give a shit. No offense. I love Terry Crews, but I don't care if he plays him or Olivia Munn playing Evie.
But that's what I think, if you really want to do like these anthology things, like this is like the things that we want to see, like the governor, maybe Beta, like how did he become like who he was?
Yeah, I mean,
the people that were at Terminus, like, how did they get to be freaking cannibals?
Again,
who knows?
This is why you need to throw in stuff that is actually relevant and not something that's just made up on the fly.
Yeah.
Or just something stupid that is like, hey, you know what? It's like, we'll just use the recycled shit that we've had from the other shows, and we're just going to throw this random shit in there.
The wolves.
Yeah. I mean, again, anybody, hell, any fucking character at this point, anyone that we really don't know. Throw that in there. You know what I mean? Like get an origin story or get like maybe a couple episodes or whatever, but at least it would be in there, And then this is the one that I haven't watched at all, but I know the Walking Dead.
Yeah, this one, I mean, the Dead City is not on Netflix. It's on one of the AMC Plus, and if you have cable. So I haven't seen it either, but the Dead City it's focused on Maggie and Negan. So they journey to a post-apocalyptic Manhattan, which is overrun by walkers and lawless gangs. So obviously Maggie and Negan have unresolved trauma. Oh, you don't say.
Let's say the beginning of season 6. That says a lot in the original Walking Dead show. Just throwing it out there.
So, I mean, the focus on Dead City is that it has a much grittier tone. Obviously, there's trust and betrayal. Urban survival, in the Walking Dead apocalypse kind of setting. But, between Maggie and Negan, obviously,
those two,
we know Negan was the one who killed Glenn.
Right in front of her, actually.
So there's a lot of, tension. And we know Maggie at this point, it's after The Walking Dead has already finished.
Right.
So the Maggie that's at the end of The Walking Dead is not the same Maggie that we see like in season 4 or 5, who's very like
kind of go happy. She's very,
still like the farm girl, like
she's kind of naive,
survivalist. No, the Maggie that came back in like season 10, like she would chop your head off and then spit down your throat. Like that's the Maggie that we get in season 10 and 11.
Oh, no, I get that. I'm just saying the early days of Maggie, she's like, oh, everything's so nice. And she's very kind. She's very
like naive, but she is like enough of a survivor where she could,
she could survive on her own.
She could survive on her own. But like the Maggie that we get when she comes back on the show at season 10, like I said, she would cut your head off and then spit down your throat and go, is there a problem?
And you're like, I guess not, bitch. I guess I'm just going to walk my way now.
I'm just going to go over there now.
I'm just going to go GFY over here.
And cry in the corner. Yeah. I'm good.
I'm great.
I'm great. Yeah.
No, but like when you start to look at...
It's kind of like how, because we were just watching this episode before I drove over here.
Yeah.
Where Rick bites the throat off that guy.
Oh.
And he, they're one of the other biker guys, because it was like that biker crew.
Yep.
And one of the guys grabs Carl and he has like a knife to his neck and he's like, I'll cut his throat. And like Rick just like looks up to him and like he pulls his knife out of his holster and he's like, I got him. And the guy's like, he like drops the knife. He's like, no, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Oh yeah, I remember.
But it's exactly like that. Like, Maggie, I'm good. I'm like, I'm going to go over there and cry. I'm going to cry in a fetal position over there in the corner.
I mean, it's interesting because then, you're seeing Maggie with this anger and this like pent up bullshit. Like basically it's all bullshit that she's just dealing with right here on her chest. And like, Negan just like, oh, trying to be this like good guy all, now, from his previous, actions and everything else that he was doing up until.
Because he spent 4 seasons trying to do it and just.
Yeah.
They could actually never accomplish it, and somehow in a new show he's going to.
Yeah, apparently he's like, oh, he's found basically God. He's like, all right, I'm ready to take my redemption path, and you're like, okay, you have a psycho who you've created because of the death, and now you're going to spend, with this guy who's trying to get, basically back to a good form of a hero, I guess if you want to call it. Like, no, I mean, like, It's interesting. I'm surprised like half the time she doesn't want to like straight up kill him in his sleep because it's not like she couldn't at that point, It's interesting to see that piece. I mean, granted, I don't know how the show is and how that would work, but I don't know if in some way like it might be nice to see, but like at the same time, is it really necessary? You know what I mean? Like, could you have like left that alone? Kind of a deal. Maybe you could have. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just depends on
So,
how you want to do
according to the premise on Wikipedia, it's the series follows Maggie and Negan going to Manhattan in search for Maggie's kidnapped son, Herschel. Oh. So, the crumbling city's filled with the dead and basically the gangs, like we said, that have made it to New York City on their own. So the world is full of anarchy, danger, beauty, and terror. I don't know why they fit beauty in that line of
beauty.
Thing. Obviously, like you have anarchy, danger, terror. I don't know why. Like
beauty throws in there.
Beauty. That danger, beauty, great. And anarchy sounds beautiful to me.
I thought you wanted a grittier show, not a beautiful show.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just sounds weird to me. And then of course Daryl Dixon, The Walking Dead.
Daryl Dixon. Like I actually did not find this one too bad. I did think so at the end of at the beginning of this show, he washes ashore in France.
Which I find very interesting on how that happens.
So he's like separated from everything that's, familiar. I mean, obviously everybody's like speaking a different language. Like he's not in anything that looks familiar.
Not in the United States anymore. Now he's literally to Europe. Now we're going to see what Europe's like.
Everything in France, like there's different power struggles. There's like different cult like factions. There's even like different types of walkers in France.
Which is interesting.
But the series does introduce new allies. Like there's Isabel. She's part of like a religious group. And Laurent, he's a young boy that's believed to be humanity's savior.
Ooh.
And then Daryl, who's, we know him as Daryl. He's the reluctant protector that's kind of he's always been kind of the
lone wolf.
The same. He's the lone wolf persona. He has his own kind of internal conflict. He's searching for his purpose. He just wants to get back to like his friends, his family, like where he's from. But like these European like walker variants, like they were shown to actually like burn skin, like when you touched them.
Oh, interesting.
But they could climb, they could jump, and they were much more aggressive than those that were seen on the main show.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah, they were much different. But like the show, like obviously being in France, like it was just much more visual and thematic. Just being like, showing just France's like landscapes.
Well, yeah. I mean, it would be surprising if they didn't show like the Eiffel Tower, for example, or something. You know what I mean? Like something like iconic like that, or like the Louvre, or whatever. Like throwing those pieces into that as well. I mean, now granted, you have to go to Paris to go see that, but I'd be curious to see if like they throw stuff like that in there. I don't remember if they did or they didn't, but it's just like,
the just visual and the things that you're seeing, like obviously like that where the religious group was kind of like a mosque or like wherever, like like a church kind of setting, like it was kind of like that older French
I know, yeah,
nunnery or whatever they call it.
Probably, yeah. I don't really know what they call it, but no, I mean, I guess the question is though, is that with Daryl, is there? I don't know. Like, I guess, is there really a point for him? You know what I mean? Like for like this show in general.
With Daryl, I mean, the whole purpose of him and the show was, I think, really to explore a more vulnerable part of his character. Develop more of a leadership role. But like the whole premise of the show was, bringing him into, somewhere where he wasn't comfortable, and, there was this kid, which was Laurent, who was supposed to be, humanity's savior, right? And, they really looked at him, especially like Isabel, who is this like nun kind of character, and she's part of this like religious group, and they look at Daryl as kind of like God's delivered warrior who's going to deliver Laurent to the rest of their group. And they really didn't have a way to protect him, much like when Eugene first showed up and Abraham was like, we got to get him to Washington so that he can save humanity. Even though Eugene was a liar,
the entire time. Yes, no, you're right.
The entire time, but they really viewed Laurent as like, he's like the, he's the Messiah. Like they're looking at him as being like he's the next like savior of mankind, and whether he is or not, I don't know. But he, I think they looked at him as like being like kind of the next, religious leader, kind of like I guess like their pope or,
Yeah, or like, I know what you're saying. Like a,
So I mean, he was obviously kind of reluctant to do that. Like he just wanted to get back, and so it does kind of explore, this like intrigue and like his leadership and the vulnerability, and it's a more stronger emotional arc for Daryl. So yeah, it is very, very different for Daryl and his character as a whole for the show.
Well, I guess my next thing I just wanted to make sure, right? So this is one of the only other ones that is also on AMC Plus, and you cannot watch it anywhere else.
This one is on Netflix now.
It is on.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so this one you can. Okay.
Yes, this is one of the ones that is on Netflix, so you can watch it.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be getting a season 2.
I mean, whether it's going to show up on Netflix early on, probably not. It'll take a while before
it is supposed to be getting a season 2. But as strong as I did really like the show, but as strong as the show was, like how Daryl arrived in France was really like it wasn't really explained well.
Yeah, that was kind of like where you would want to lead with that at first.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was really thin on their explanation. It was really like, he was on a boat. I get it, like, but how he washed up in France?
Well, and that
was really the question.
Well, that and how long was he out at sea for? Like, like we're talking like this could be, a few months. This could be, I mean, it's definitely not going to be a few days. I mean, we're talking, it could take a while.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't really explained very well, but like most of these, spin-offs, some of the characters were not developed, really that great. Some of the meaningful arcs like Isabel and some of the other characters, like they just didn't have a lot of screen time. I mean, there's 6 episodes, right? So they're, immediately like you're not getting a lot of screen time for a lot of these characters. So you're not really getting a lot of setup. And, the pacing struggles to balance like the action with the quieter moments. Again, there's 6 episodes. So the pacing has to be a lot quicker.
Well, I'm just curious to know, like, it's kind of like what I was going to kind of like bring up Star Wars here for a second, but like, because like Daryl is basically done with, of course, The Walking Dead, right? The original show. with this, it's like,
Well, he may
like
or may not be, but
well, I mean, well, sure, but I was just going to say, like, sure, if it gets season 2, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, moving, the story along.
They still may do like a main movie with everybody.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Did you say they're coming out with a movie?
They may do like a main story arc movie. I don't know. I mean, it could really depend on what they do with, like, Rick's character, Michonne's character, because I mean they're all together now. Like, as far as like at the end of Rick and Michonne's show, like they're all together. Like we'll get there, but
oh no, I know, but I'm just saying. I guess for Daryl's sake, it's like I get where they want to like show the mystery, like show like the differences of like where he's at now, and kind of seeing how prevalent he is now in a different area. But I guess is it going to be well worth continuing on, like having more seasons? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is it going to be worth it, or is it going to be like, because now we have 6 episodes, like, are they only going to continue with 6 more, or like, make it more of a thing? That's the thing.
I really have no idea what Daryl Dixon's, second season is. Is it going to be in France? Is it going to be in America? I have no idea what it would look like.
Well, no, I understand you don't know, but I'm just saying, to me, it's like, is it going to be worth putting in the time? Like putting in the effort for,
if it makes sense for his character, sure. But Daryl Dixon was one of the stronger ones. It was much stronger than as a whole. Fear the Walking Dead. It was a much stronger show.
I get it. I do, but I guess we'll find out when they come out with the season 2, and if they possibly do 3 and 4 or whatever. Or maybe a movie, who knows? But yes.
But I actually did watch The Ones Who Live. I mean, like I said, there's 6 episodes, so it's not really that hard to watch. So
probably not. No.
With 6 episodes, you can pretty much watch it. Like, if you watch one a day, you can watch it in a week. Less than a week, actually. But The Ones Who Live, that one follows really, Rick and Michonne. It does follow, if you remember, Anna. I don't know if you.
I don't think no, probably not.
Anna was kind of if you remember the trash lady. She was the one that was like in the kind of like trash area. But she was the one who like rescued Rick and was the one that like brought him to like saved him and brought him to like the helicopter.
Oh, okay.
But, The Ones Who Live, like that one was in 2024. It does follow like Michonne's journey to search for Rick. Everybody's, really trying to tell her like, that she should move on, and, Rick is dead. And, she's really, I think even, in the original show from, even just rewatching it now, like we're really watching, like I think we got halfway to like the finale of season 4.
Oh, okay.
But like we're watching season 4, and like there's an episode where she like they lose, like everybody kind of gets scattered after the prison.
Oh yeah.
And she finds Rick and Coral. But she ends up finding them in a house, and but that's kind of like the ongoing thing with Michonne. Like somehow she always like finds Rick, and so this is kind of the thing. Like she always has this hope of like, I don't care what I have to do or how far I have to go. Like I am going to keep searching for him. Like, and that's exactly kind of like the journey that she goes on the show. And we also do see Rick, and he's kind of like this like prisoner, kind of like worker for the CRM. He does try, like we see him numerous times trying to escape. This is where we do see him cut his own hand off.
Ah, okay.
And they do give him like this really kick-ass like metal fist.
Oh God,
that has like a retractable blade on it.
Oh, love it.
But yeah, he does cut his own hand off to escape. But like it's really like interesting because the show is really it's really emotional. And it is like, to me, like this is one of the better spinoffs that they've done. It's just the reunion between Michonne and Rick is like really one of like the better reunions that they've done in The Walking Dead. Like how he works through like the reasoning, like why he's working with the CRM and what he's doing, like really like trying to protect his family and like the ones that he loves, like not just Michonne and like Judith, but like finding out that like, Michonne doesn't just have Judith back home, but she also had another son.
Oh, look at that.
With Rick. So there's another son besides Rick. So, there's another part of like Rick's family that he's never met this kid because he's been with the CRM.
Well, I mean, how long, like when you see Michonne, I guess in I guess what I'm trying to figure out is like the timeline. Like how long has it been from, let's say, The Walking Dead until this journey that she goes on to even go find Rick? Because I'm wondering how old this kid is now.
I believe it's like, it's been years.
Oh, this is years. So even Carl is like, clearly like, I mean, well, actually, sorry.
Well,
no,
Carl's
I
dead.
forgot. Yes, I keep forgetting because we're talking like, I know we talked about the comic book.
It's years
Carl's
because,
okay. My bad. Sorry.
Judith is like pretty much like probably a teenager.
Oh God.
And this kid's probably like maybe 7, 8. I'd have to guess. Like the kid's okay. Like the kid's not like grown, but he's a good age. Like
it was basically like Carl's age when they first started out, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean the kid's young, but like Judith is like probably like Carl's age, like when he's like in season like 5 or
oh wow,
like
okay, so
she's older,
yeah,
and his whole reasoning was like basically the CRM told him like if he basically tries to escape, like they're going to like go to Alexandria
and basically
they're going to exterminate everybody that he's ever known.
Now, they ever explain why? Like why that is the case for him specifically?
I don't think it was just for him, but I think that's what the CRM basically does.
Oh, they just they intimidate you to basically make sure that
they either brainwash you to come to join them, or they basically exterminate you if you don't.
Slash your family.
And so that's kind of like what they do is like they either deem you worthy enough to join them or they don't, and they basically just kill you off.
So my thing, but I know we're going to kind of wrap this up here. The thing about the CRM that I had to kind of look up too, first of all, I didn't realize they were National Guard. Let's start with that. I didn't realize because I was kind of looking up some stuff here. Technically, it says they started out as the Pennsylvania National Guard, and then like turned into different colonies, like Nebraska and like a few others, or whatever, in like the Midwest. Because I was just kind of looking at it for a minute, and then I was like, I find it interesting that the mentality of, and the only reason why I find it interesting because again, it's National Guard stuff like that, but being in a apocalyptic world in that sense, and saying like, you have to join us or, we're just going to exterminate the shit out of you. Like, I mean, and I hate saying it, but like, when you think of like, martial law, right? And you think of like the ways of but they're, in this case, they're governing their own individuals. Now they're telling people you either join us or we're going to kill the shit out of you and we're going to kill everybody that's ever around you. And basically they're ultimately just trying to be this ultimate empire of just people.
And what they're doing is like not what they're telling the public. Like what they're telling the public is like, we're building cities, we're keeping you safe, like come and join us. And they're bringing people in that they trust and they're building the cities, but like what they're doing is like they're bringing select people in.
Right.
They're actually taking people's children.
Yes, brainwashing.
They're actually slaughtering the parents, but just taking the children. They're kind of building this like new generation of of survivors like that are going to be like kind of their new, future,
Right.
and kind of getting rid of like the old.
Right.
And that's kind of what their whole plan was, is like, we're going to just keep getting the children, and we're going to get rid of all the, all the
I know you didn't watch
older people, but like, that's kind of what their whole thing was. And it gets to a point in the show where Rick and Michonne, they do, obviously they do get together, and they decide like, we need to take them down, and we need to like reveal to people what is really going on with the CRM.
The question is, they don't probably show like a leader, right? Like the leader of the CRM or somebody that's in charge of them.
No, they do.
So now, is it an older person?
Yeah, he's actually a pretty popular actor, actually.
Oh, which popular actor would that be?
He's in Lost. I know that.
Oh, well, that doesn't fucking help.
Well, I don't know the dude's name.
Oh, well, you should show me a picture of him then. Then I could tell you maybe who he is, but since he's a popular actor. The only one I could, I don't know. Is he, wait a minute, is he kind of a bigger dude?
Terry O'Quinn?
Let me see this. Just turn the computer. Let me see it.
I'm trying to get a bigger picture.
Sorry, dogs. Oh, here we go. Oh. Okay, that guy. Okay, yeah. Okay.
He's like the dude about. From like Lost, and
he's been in. Oh yeah. Okay. Now I know who you're talking about. But yes. Okay. So
General Beale, I believe his name is in the show.
Interesting. I just think it's funny how like they're like, oh, we want to have younger folks in our ranks and stuff, and in our basically cause, if you want to call it, but they don't really. Like, you know what I mean? Like, does he have a successor? Does he have somebody that he's in mind? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because like he's getting as old as shit too. It doesn't mean that he's anywhere.
Well, and that was
like them.
He did, and and that's where he was really he was kind of like trusting Rick, because Rick was kind of like, at the time, like Rick was really he was defeated because he had lost Carl, and he really had lost. Or at least he had thought like he had lost Michonne.
Right.
And the CRM basically was like, no, if you try to escape, like, we're going to slaughter everybody that you love. And like, he was having like, in the show, he was having like these dreams, like he would dream of like being with Carl, and like, just kind of like the past.
Right.
And then soon, like he when he was dreaming, like Carl was just gone. And then he started dreaming about Michonne, and then Michonne was gone, and soon he was just like, I can't do this and like try to protect them. So like, I'm literally just going to try to cut everybody off, and I'm just going to do like the CRM thing. And that's kind of like, he was really just dead inside, and he was like, I have to kill kind of like who I am on the inside so that I don't have to.
Well, he has no purpose anymore at that point.
And that was kind of like the idea of the show. And I really loved that for the show, because like when Michonne comes in, like, she's like, you have a family, like, we're still here, we're still alive, like, you need to come back with us. And he's like, I can't, like, I'm doing this to protect you. And she's like, we don't need you to do this. Like, we need you to be you.
Right, and come back.
And he's like, I can't do that. And then, Michonne's like, well, this is not the way, like, this is not the Rick who would talk to me like this. And like, literally, she's like, I'm out. Like, I'm gone. And it was like, you see this moment, like when Rick's face just turns and he's like, I can't let her just walk out the door. And it's kind of like that moment of like, it's really just that emotional connection of like, are you going to keep just being a pussy?
And like, actually do something about it?
And actually, keep the woman and go back to your family? Or are you going to just keep being this like CRM, like drone?
Right. No, I mean, and then that's good. I'm glad it explores that option, because, it shows that vulnerability that Rick's like, like shit, I really don't have any other choice right now, because now I'm defeated. I can't do anything about it. I've already lost basically my original wife. Okay. OG wife, you've already lost everybody else. And now you're just like, well, shit, what do I do as a person? And now that's good. I'm glad.
But it was, I mean, it just was cool because it was like, it was really tough for him to kind of come to that term because he was like, you know, I lost Carl. I thought I had lost you. Like, I basically I had to kill like everything that was who I was. And he's like, I'm afraid if I bring that part back into me, I'm going to lose you all over again. And I can't do that. Like, I can't have that. Like, if I lose you all over again, like, I might as well die too. And it was just like, oh, like
shit.
Yeah. But it was one, you know, it was really one of the better. When I finished watching it, I was like, wow, that was actually like one of the better, like, spinoffs. To me, it was one of the better spinoffs. And I don't know if it was just because it was Michonne and Rick, but, you know, just to kind of finish off the show, I think, like, were the spinoffs a success or is it oversaturation? And, you know, I don't think I would say that they were not 100% successful. You know, I think some of the seasons of Fear the Walking Dead were great. You know, Daryl Dixon was good. But I think, you know, you look at how many spinoffs that there were.
Well, and I feel like they're going to definitely continue with some of these too.
I mean, definitely, like, I think it was, like we said earlier, I think it was too much, too fast, too soon. If they spaced them out and maybe, you know, spent more time on the storytelling and didn't, maybe they were rushed. Like, I mean, I only think, like, you did these so fast and maybe didn't focus on, like, I mean, Fear the Walking Dead, like, you took a story writer and then he left mid-season, like mid show. And then by like season 5 and then 6, like, you had a whole different showrunner. You know what I mean? So, like, now you shift focus altogether. And that's where the show started really just going downhill.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, you know, when you have, you know, your good writing team, you know, your production, your directing, your, you know, all the things that play into a show and everything else, you know, you don't want to just say, you know what, fuck you, we're leaving you. Or, you know, like mid-show, like, hey, we're just get out of my office. Like, just leave. You know what I mean? Like, or at least if you have an issue with the guy, you know, just let him finish the damn show first and then just be like, all right, you're done. You're not coming back. But I agree that, you know, when you're trying to find like a good writing team and, you know, you're trying to find those like right key people for especially a show for so long, depending on what it is, like, you need that. You don't, it's like, unfortunately, like, you know, the amount of times that we've, you know, how many times have we had Batman, you know, like, you're replacing all these people all the time. And it's like, you're getting really fucking fed up because now all of a sudden you're like,
yeah, I mean, but if you have a show and you're like, okay, well, we're signed on for 2 more seasons. Our showrunner left, like, you know, our show, like, you know, main writer or main producer, you know, whatever the guy's, you know, role was that dictated the show's direction, left. We need a new guy. And this guy's like, oh, no. Well, I want to take the show and bring it this way. You might want to be like, well, we've had success for 5 seasons going this way.
So maybe keep it that way.
Maybe, like, keep it this way, but maybe we can direct it a little bit going that way, but not like
a full U-turn.
Go from here to go, like, let's go this way now. Like, it just, Fear the Walking Dead just went a whole different direction. Like, some of the spinoffs, like, I think it was just, like I said, it was just too much, too fast. Some of it was unnecessary. Well, so I do think some of it was oversaturation. Like, definitely, you know, some franchise fatigue set in.
Well, and that's what I was going to say too. So, like, you know, spacing is key. And we're not even just talking like TV shows. I mean, like everything, like video games, movies. Like, if you had back-to-back movies, like one boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? Like, let's say, like,
it sounds like a song. Boom, 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 boom.
Anyways, no, because you got me off track, man. No, but like, if you had it really quick, right in a row, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. Not granted, I understand.
It's like Blair Witch. It's like being lost in the woods, and then some jackass friend like loses the map, and you're like, "You had the map.
Now where the fuck are we?"
It's like, I didn't have the map. You had the map. Oh yeah, that map that I kicked in the fucking river. Back there, that fucking map.
Yeah, you dumbass.
Who cares? You know, like, great. Now we're fucking lost. We have no idea.
Yeah,
like,
you piece of shit. Now I gotta
now there's
backtrack.
Now there's a fucking witch.
No, trying to follow us. No, but I mean, it's just you're right with the fatigue. So, like, I only mention this because I know it's Matt's favorite video game of all time. Now, I'm only
talking about franchise fatigue.
I'm joking.
Ooh.
Okay, look. So, and I'm only mentioning Call of Duty because when you're talking about a thing that's like every year or every literally like year and a half ish. Like it's like boom, 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 and it just like keeps going and keeps going.
Boom, boom, boom,
boom, boom, boom, boom. All right, we're gonna see. You know what? We're gonna work on that, Matt. Don't worry. That's a different episode. But no, I just know that you're looking at all these like things happening all at once, and you're invested in a show like this, and you're just like, man, this is great, this is amazing. If it's spaced it out a little bit more, whatever. Like, I understand that, of course, like each show, sure, each season, boom, like 1 year at a time, whatever, that's fine. But then when you start to add in like the 2 or the 3, and whatever, and then you also have now you're having renewed seasons of that same show. Now you're doing this, right, and you're trying to catch up on everything. We
have to understand, like the main show is still happening when they were doing Fear, like at least the first first few seasons of Fear the Walking Dead.
Well, it was like what, season 5 or 6 that they started, or was it a little bit earlier? I can't remember when they originally started the Fear the Walking Dead. Yeah, I thought it was like a little bit later. It was like The Walking Dead was definitely established, I thought, because I don't think it started. I want to say it was like 4 or 5.
Fear the Walking Dead started in 2015.
Okay, so technically, now I'm thinking about it. So that actually, so no, it would have been like 6 or 7.
The Walking Dead started in 2010. So
okay, so it would have been like season 5-ish. Is probably when that started.
Yeah. And Fear the Walking Dead ended in 2023, and I think The Walking Dead ended in 22. So it only went 1 year beyond.
Well, right, but I'm just saying, like, in general,
And then The World Beyond was 2020 to 2021.
Right.
So you're doing that show at the same time.
And you have the Daryl.
And then Tales of the Walking Dead was 2022. So you have now three shows at the same time.
Yep, and then Daryl.
The Dead City was 2023.
Yeah, but I thought so. Daryl was in that same time frame as I thought of.
Daryl Dixon is 2023.
Yeah, and then you have this one that just came out.
This one just came out last year. I mean, it was last year, early last year.
Right. So again,
you have 3 or 4 shows that all came out like
within a few years.
They came out at the same time of each other. But you have to realize too, like they were all probably filming at the same time.
Right. And so, and that's why we're saying, like, there's a good thing about phenomenon and hype and this and that, it gets to a point where it's like great. And you're like, hey, we can keep it going. But, I actually was talking to somebody else too, actually, him too, as in, Jordan Hool, my good buddy, old pal over there. But like, we were talking about different things, and it's true. Like, whether it's movies, video games, whatever, like if you don't invest, actually, no, well, you also said this too, the whole, we were talking about video games at one point too, but like, you have to invest in games, right? You don't want to, you basically just don't want, like, here's a game, like, here you go, like, here's the game. All right. And then basically a year later, hey, guess what? Here's the second game. Now you got to redo everything you just fucking did.
We talked about that yesterday.
Was it you?
Yes.
I can't remember.
You and I talked about that yesterday.
I could have. Well, I also remember Jordan and I talking about it too, but not a point here. But my point is that yes, we were talking about how you have a game, you want to invest in it, great, and then this is where you have DLC and you have other things, and you build upon that universe in that sense. But then, right, you're like, oh wait, here's the second game real quick, and you're like, wait a minute, now I was just playing the first one. I'm not even done with that yet, but now I'm having to play a second one. That quickly,
and I got to start it all over and do all
this other stuff.
This is the thing, like you have all these shows and they're all running at the same time, and it's like, what are we doing here? Like this is where the franchise fatigue set in. But to kind of end this thing, to me, if I was going to make a list, and I'm not making a list of all of them because I don't really care about The World Beyond or any of the other ones, but to me, I think there were really 3 that stood out to me, and I think the first one that I like that has been the most successful, at least in storytelling, was The Ones Who Live. The second would be Daryl Dixon, and the third would be Fear the Walking Dead. At least seasons 1 through 4, maybe season 5. those to me would be like, as far as like the most successful, those would be what I say.
No, I mean, I haven't watched them all. I can't really give an honest opinion, but I can say just by even just, you and I talking and kind of listening and, getting those answers real quick. I mean, I would probably agree with probably what you just said, because I don't want to watch the anthology. That just sounds stupid to me, and especially with the whole Dead City one, like, I don't want to, not that I don't think it's funny. I just think that it's, I don't know. Like, does it really need to happen? Probably not. I mean, it's a nice story, sure, if you want to like tell about Negan and Maggie, but who gives a shit? No offense. I mean, like, it's just one of those things, like, we already know what, who they are and whatever else, but like, at least with the others, like when you're looking at Daryl, when you're looking at the ones who lived, the Fear of the Walking Dead, they actually have something drawing you into them, like watching it, and you're like, oh, now I get to see where Rick's at. Oh, now I see where Daryl's at in fucking France for whatever goddamn reason. Oh, hey, by the way, yeah, now I get to see Fear of the Walking Dead when it comes to early on, when it comes to before everything else that we just saw in The Walking Dead. You experience all that, and it's like a new emotion, like all at the same time. You're like, whoa, this is great. Like, now how do I deal with this? The others, it's like, yeah, we're just going to throw shit in there. We're going to see if it sticks. Yeah. It's like throwing bologna on a fucking wall. I'm just going to see if it sticks. Maybe it's worth it. Maybe it's not.
So let's continue the CRM storyline and see what falls out of the.
Yeah, fuck it. Who cares?
Out of the ass of Walking Dead.
But anyways,
it's shit. That's what I'm saying.
I figured it was dog shit. Yeah,
it's dog shit.
Actually, let me go get Bucky real quick. I'll throw dog shit at you. Anyways,
I think I'm good.
I figured you would. Anyways, guys and gals and anyone else who wants to be called whatever, we're done. We're officially done for at least today. So we appreciate you guys. We're enjoying this so far. I know we have one more episode next week. It's going to be about, I forgot, Matt. What was it? I know it's the. Oh, that's right. Yes, sorry. It's about the casting. So if we, who we would think would be a great replacement for certain, characters in the show.
It's more. I mean, we're talking about more than that. I mean, this
that was part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, our final part is like really the cultural impact of The Walking Dead. So we're talking about, how, the mainstream idea or the concept of, why it was popular, when it became a global phenomenon, like how it influenced television and media, and then we kind of will do our final reflections and farewell to our Walking Dead series. We'll talk about memorable deaths and, favorite moments. And yeah, we'll talk about some recasted, actors for certain roles. Not every character, because there's too many.
No,
some of the main roles.
Yeah. So again, just we'll just summarize this real quick. A reflection of the show, the global impact that it's had, especially in culture and everything else, potential, who we think we want to cast, and, if there was ever changes that we would ever want to do with the shows. It doesn't have to just be The Walking Dead. It could be literally even the spinoffs too, while we're at it. But anyways, until next time, boys and girls,
stay geeky.